Hey folks, guess what? Today I've got none other than Australia's uber cool, successful and unstoppable Finder.com founder, Fred Schebesta. So he's pretty obsessed with hyper success and innovation, passionate about inspiring and supporting the next generation of the startup community. So he's also an avid futurist, a cryptocurrency expert, and he's currently leading the group's VC arm, so Finder Ventures, and they built the innovative money app Finder. His latest project, Schebesta Ventures, is a platform to help startups bring their ideas to life. And if that wasn't enough on his plate, he's also got a new book launching in September. Thanks for joining me today, Fred.
Thanks very much. And thanks everyone for listening. You got the #1 podcast. Here we are.
Apparently. So Fred, I wanted to ask my first question, which is, a lot of companies, they say they're committed to continuous improvement, but what does this mean for you, and how have you brought this to life in your companies? Because you're constantly evolving.
Yeah. So I think the market's always moving, the market's always evolving. And I have this theory that, companies get stale after 7 years. And, any market after 7 years has completely probably moved and changed. There are very few that sort of stick exactly the same. That's enough time for, legacy debt to be paid down, major, new providers to come through and spring up, and, the market requirements to move. And so I sort of bottle, innovation into two bottles. One is, incremental improvement. And, I think that's about, test and learn and experimenting and taking what's there and making it slightly better. And, it's the iPhone 3, the iPhone 4, the iPhone 5. It's always just slightly incrementally better. But then there's the giant leaps forward, and that's the other bottle. And I think those ones are the harder ones, where you need to take big risk and you make mistakes and sometimes it doesn't work out. And, I think that to me is like, you're going from an iPod to an iPhone.
Yeah.
And that's the big leaps, right? And I think, with Finder, we've been doing that with our app. We made a giant leap forward by connecting people's bank accounts and then automatically comparing for them. Or instead of going and connecting up and registering with an exchange, you can just buy directly in the Finder app, your cryptocurrency. Right. And, that's like a major leap forward in Finder and what we do as an organization. And I think I admire companies like Sony. Sony have been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
Nintendo was the absolute bone crushing gaming platform. It was 2D, but everyone played the Nintendo, and it was a huge market share winner. And then, Sony took an incredible bet and a massive leap forward by building a 3D chip into a gaming console and released the PlayStation 2. That was a massive leap forward in gaming, because now you could have three-dimensional games. And then Xbox came and copied them, with Microsoft buying that and obviously releasing that to the market. And, I think that's where, again, you sort of see that fast. Microsoft's really taking that fast follow approach with a lot of different things right now. But I think that's the difference, right? It's those big steps forward. The Walkman, I think, is another great example by Sony. Sony is, I think, an incredibly innovative company. Yeah. It's really hard to do. It's probably the hardest thing is to take those leaps forward, because you need to take big risk.
Yeah. Well, that leads on nicely to my next question. Lots of companies claim that innovation is one of their core values. So do you think every business should have an innovation sort of capability, innovation function? And if so, how do you get started? What are the first steps forward to actually build this capability?
I think, every company, yes, should have some sort of innovation in and of itself. Because eventually what you're doing, your edge will be arbitraged away. It'll just get grinded away. Not every company, there are companies where it has incredible moats and they get stronger and stronger over time. And if you have one of those, then, you should continue to innovate and push further into that and flex your moat even harder and build it up even deeper and wider. So I think that's when you've developed a source of power. Most
Yep.
businesses are taking, obviously there's a long time period before you get to that source of power.
Mm.
I think in terms of structure, but I'm a big believer in Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma. And in my instance, I see it as like you need to create a separate team.
Yeah.
You need to. We actually went to the next level and created a whole separate company. And that's how different. To isolate those team members to a different place. Other companies can sort of shepherd that through, but I think it needs to be separate. And I think naturally what happens is there are innovative people who are comfortable with ambiguity, comfortable with making mistakes, comfortable with exploring and being curious. And there are others that take those innovations and take those creations and make them better and continuously refine and make them better. And that's just, I think, a natural state of innovation and people.
Okay, brilliant. And now, lastly, your first published book comes out on September the 1st. So what's the book about? How is it different from the many others that are heaving the shelves of the business section in the bookstore?
Yeah, so I think, I could have written a book about how to make $1 million or, how to lose weight or, how to save money, all those kind of things. But, I think there are lots of people who have written books like that. And I think there are lots of people who also, write the rules of doing things. Now, I'm a terrible rule breaker. So I'm probably not the best person to write rules because I don't really have many. But what I do have is, and it took me a lot of soul searching to figure this out, is I have, some immutable principles that I use to launch every business that I've been involved with. And I teach those 10 principles in this book, or 10 of them.
Okay.
And those principles are immutable. They are applicable to everyone who wants to launch, either it's a business or, in this case, most people, trying to launch a business in some way, shape, or form. And so you essentially, I tell the stories that teach those principles, and then you can take those and implement them when you're launching your business.
Amazing. Yeah. And that transcends whether it's a product, a service, transcends geography, transcends sector. So principles that have stood the test of time for all the businesses you've launched.
Yeah. So, I've launched a cryptocurrency brokerage. I've launched an internet company. I launched an agency. I've been involved in all sorts of different companies, and Finder has a lot of companies inside it as well. A coupon code business and a whole lot of other things. We launched a marketplace as well. There's all sorts of things launching internationally. Those principles, but they have not changed. And I realized, they were the things that sort of made up my business decisions. And it's called Go Live and the reason why it's called Go Live is because I love putting things live on the internet.
I love that. That's such a change management term.
Yeah. I believe if it's not live on the internet, then it doesn't exist. And that everyone knows that in Finder, and it's one of those things. It's the actual third value of Finder, and that's what this book is about. It's about going live and the 10 principles that are immutable, and I use to do that successfully. Okay,
that's amazing. So people, if you're interested in Fred's book, you can follow him to stay tuned on the updates. So thanks again for your time,
You can actually
Fred.
pre-order it actually right now on Booktopia. Yeah.
Amazing. There you go, Booktopia. Thank you.